In the UK, pest control companies are navigating not only evolving pests, but also a landscape shaped by environmental concerns and a constantly changing regulatory environment.
So the history of Beaver Pest Control is, we're a family business. We started in 1990. Graham Lodge founded the business, and he was shortly joined after a couple of years by David Lodge. So since 1990, we've had steady growth. We now have 95 staff. So our current service area is the southeast of England, and we offer a wide range of specialist pest control services. So bird control, wildlife management, drain surveys, pest control, anything to do with pest control we provide.
The industry isn't really embracing sustainability as quickly as it should be. It's a slow path, making inroads into it, and it is something that Beaver has been involved in. So there's companies out there that are actually saying, right, we're going to be carbon neutral, say, or carbon zero, let's say, in 2035 or 2050, but that's a real difficult ask. And I think it's going to be a real struggle for people to be able to reach that, for companies to be able to reach that. However, the industry has started to make movements. So there's something called Sustainability Initiative, and the British Pest Control Association are setting up a working group for the environment. So what Beaver are doing there, along with the BPCA, are creating almost a code for people to follow, and it's going to pinpoint what they can do, some easy sort of ticks as to what they can do to help the environment, and some more difficult ones. But it's going to be sort of a tick list of how each company can do something good for the environment. So we're making, it's a long road, and we've probably started late, but we're making inroads into it now. We're now ISO 14001 accredited. That's an environmental accreditation. We've got EV vehicles. One of the biggest things is trying to reduce your impact through vehicles. That's one of the biggest things that we've got to try and do. But the infrastructure puts pressure on that. So the infrastructure within London to have more EV vehicles just isn't really there. But we try and work around that. So we do have some EV vehicles where we can. We have limited deliveries. So when people are delivering to us, they only deliver once a month. So that reduces the impact they have in the environment. We only have the staff coming in once a month as well, whereas it used to be much more often. So again, you're reducing that travel coming in. People live close to the areas they work. So again, they don't come into the office. They work around where they live, so they don't have to travel so much. We've got about a fifth of our employees are now foot technicians. So they're saving around about 32 tonnes of carbon per year by just having foot technicians and not travelling. So we're trying to increase that as much as we can. One of the best things I actually brought into, I believe, into the business is IRDC. So, and that's for I is inspection, E is exclusion, R is restriction, D is destruction, and C is communication. And what that means is that when you do your inspection, you find where the pests are actually coming from. So we're not throwing down baits now. We inspect to see where they're coming from, and then we try and restrict those areas. So we do lots and lots of proofing. So using a lot less bait, a lot less products, a lot less plastic, and everything else. But then at the end of that, you also work with the customer to make sure that they take any foodstuffs away, and they help and they work as a partner with us. But then the C at the end is communication. Because if you had another pest control company come in and say, well, where are all the bait boxes or something like that, then you have to say, well, actually, they're in the places where they're meant to be. They're in the wall voids, they're in the ceilings, but more importantly, we've done lots of proofing to keep those pests out. and hence we don't have to use as many products as maybe another company would. And I think that's had a massive impact on our reduction of pesticides within the environment. And in fact, I'm proud to say we've just won a sustainability initiative on that. So the Pest Management Association, Pest Management Awards, we've just won a sustainability initiative for 2024, and it was based on IORC, so we're really proud.
While the industry has traditionally been male-dominated, there is a growing recognition of the need for more diversity.
Diversity is important for the pest control industry for a variety of reasons. Number one, there's a recruitment issue currently. Number two, 40% of the industry is due to retire over the next 10 years. And number three, 5% of the industry is female, as opposed to 52% of the general population. So you can see that with a recruitment issue, which is only going to increase as people start to retire, and the untapped talent pools that we've got, that's why diversity is going to be really important to the pest control industry over the next 10, 15, 20 years. I sit on the executive board for the British Pest Control Association, and I also chair the EDI committee for them, which is the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And the work we do in that committee is looking at how do we tap into these untapped pools of talent, and what do we need to change culturally within the industry to encourage more women and more underrepresented groups to join the industry.
Yeah, so at Beaver Pest Control we have an in-house training centre. We actually provide the level 2 qualification for pest management in the UK. So that's administered through the Royal Society of Public Health. As part of our own internal training though, we do focus on topics which are intrinsically connected to sustainability. For example, we take a very proactive attitude towards pest management and try and work with our clients as closely as possible to prevent the root causes of any pest infestations. In the short term, this actually helps us mitigate pest risk and avoid infestations in the first place. In the long term though, this has a secondary impact, essentially allowing us to use less environmentally intrusive techniques to manage pest infestations, not reaching for chemical control as a first resort.
We often say that pest control is not just a job, it is a career. Many people fall into this career, but there is lots of opportunity within it. And through initial training, in the industry, you can go on to lots of different fields. So there is field biologist, environmental health, even sales. So it's a good career path to have.
Current issues faced by the UK industry, there's several. I think primarily is the erosion of the toolkit, and actually reactive measures have been taken off the shelf. This is forcing companies into a position where we have to work much more closely with our clients in ways we didn't have to previously, help educate them as much as we possibly can to mitigate pest risk in the first instance, essentially spending money before potentially they even experience a pest problem, which isn't the easiest thing to do. It's far easier to get customers to part with money when, after the fact, when they're subject to pest infestation already.
The industry faces numerous challenges, including the increasing resistance of pests to traditional treatments, stricter legislation surrounding mouse glue traps, and evolving safety standards.
So the aim of the industry and the aim of Beaver Pest Control is to reduce pesticides in the environment. However, we've got massive challenges with that. So, for instance, there's physiological resistance, there's behavioural resistance, there's genetic resistance in mice. Now, all of those things mean that certain poisons don't work anymore. So we need sometimes to turn to a thing called glue traps. And as much as we don't like using them, they should be a last resort, they've been banned, essentially been banned from use. So without being able to use them, that means that we've now got to put more pesticides in the environment, which we're really not happy about. The only other way really is that we investigate and we proof as many holes as possible to stop mice from coming in. But it's not, they get through a 6mm gap. So that's not you're not going to have total success with that. You need to be able to use everything. Also, the problem is the more rodenticide we put down, the behavioural resistance and the genetic resistance gets even worse. So then you've got to put more down on top of that. So, and that's been made worse by amateurs using it as well at home, and it's got less toxicity. The products that are being used there, they're putting it down without really any understanding of how it can be used and just making the situation worse. So we're trying so hard to reduce the pesticides that we use, but it's not been made easy by the government making short-term legislation, for example, by removing rodent glue traps without consulting the pest control industry, because they haven't thought about what the long-term effects of that are going to be. The long-term effects are going to be using more poisons, and then that will create more resistance. So it's very, very difficult, but we do keep trying. So how can the government help us? Well, they need to just cut the bureaucracy. It's really difficult to get new products on the market, especially since Brexit. The cost has gone up incredibly. So they need to back us in that and be able to do that. The other thing they need to do is licensing. So try to stop amateur use of products, or at least restrict it, and make sure that the professionals are doing their job and they're doing it properly. And the way to do that is to create a licensing scheme. So the professional companies are licensed and people will know who to go to, like with Gas Safe and other accreditations like that.
Innovation is actually really important to Beaver Pest Control, and the reason for this is the more innovative services we can offer, the more efficient we will be for our customers. Hopefully the better service levels we'll provide, the more efficient we can be. So for example, remote monitoring, we can now monitor sites on a 24/7 basis. So if there is a catch in a remote monitoring trap, we know instantly. Whereas previously, you'd have to wait until the technician went and had a look at those particular traps, which could be anywhere from 28 days to 4 weeks to 6 weeks, for example. But now we know instantaneously. And it will also allow us to understand levels of activity. So innovation is actually, the data that innovation is bringing is actually very important to our understanding of the pest issues that are on site. The future is going to be a really interesting time for Beaver Pest Control and the pest control industry. Our toolkit is being eroded, so there are less rodenticides, for example, and pesticides that are allowed to be used in the UK. That's partially to do with Brexit, but also the innovative products that are coming in and the data that's produced by technology is going to be more of a challenge, and I think it's going to be a really interesting time. We're going to continue to grow, we're going to continue to expand our services and our geographical service areas so that we can help more customers. So this is about protecting public health and making sure that we help people remain free from pests.
As companies like Beaver Pest Control continue to lead with sustainable practices, the industry as a whole is evolving. With a focus on innovation, environmental responsibility, and workforce diversity, looks both promising and progressive.